Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Indie Filmmaker. This week I've got Tim Ritter on here finally. It feels like I should have had you on a long time ago with our long history, but finally doing it tonight. How you doing there, Tim?
Oh, pretty good. Appreciate you having me on.
Sure. Tonight we need to talk about some HI-8. I've been a bit behind promoting it because I've been tied up doing that Empire State of Dead production. Of course, we had the re-release of Day of the Reaper there, which the Blu-ray sold, really fast. We still got the VHS and DVDs, but the Blu-ray, pretty steady seller. And then I had the other big holiday sale, so it's been a crazy couple months.
It is. Holidays are always like that.
Yeah, on top of it, like I said, the holidays, of course, and then having HI-8 come out at the same time. Just having I've been trying to share some of the statuses that like Brad's put up and stuff, but I haven't been on as much as I normally would be. So let's talk about the start of HI-8. I remember briefly, correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but you had emailed me about an idea for a project called HI-8 because you saw how good VHS was doing, and you talked about, I think you even talked about then bringing in 8 filmmakers specifically and having me produce it with you, and I was like, either I would be paying filmmakers up front because I didn't want to get into handling 8 royalty checks and statements, or doing the royalty doing the royalty statements. And I was just like, I don't want to deal with this headache. I don't think I can pay everyone enough to make it worth their while, and we're going to pay them like a couple $100 each to make their shorts. So if I remember it, I passed on, you reposted it, and then your idea, and then Brad came to you and said he liked the idea. So correct me if I'm wrong, did I recap all that correctly?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, we were just talking about it on Facebook. I think it was
you and Brad, or me?
Well, no, I was talking about it on Tony Masiello's shot on video site on Facebook, and we were a bunch of filmmakers where we were all just kind of joking around, and I had talked to you about it, like you said, kind of mentioned it just as a joke, and I was like, everybody started talking about VHS, and then I said, how about a pint-sized VHS HI-8, and kind of just went from there, and that's when Brad kind of chimed in, and
Brad really latched onto it. He loved it.
Well, yeah, he contacted me later, and he was actually serious. He goes, hey, I seriously want to do an anthology movie, and it's just a great title, and I think it would be really cool if we could do this. And I was like he goes, are you in if we really seriously want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Man, why not?
The concept was great. The again, it was just seeing the numbers for DVD. I was afraid of the future headache with it. I didn't think it would financially work out for everyone involved. But I thought it was a great idea. I wasn't in love with the title because I figured, VHS. Everyone knows VHS. Not everyone knows HI-8. Right. I think I even told you, I was like, we should call it like SOV or something like that, which I ended up using for the one of the American Gore Story releases. But I mean, it worked out. People loved it. People have gotten behind it. It's tons of buzz.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm really surprised that it's taken off as well as it has. As a matter of fact, I was just in Barnes & Noble yesterday, Christmas shopping and everything, and there's Fangoria magazine with a full color article by Brad on HI-8, where we're all represented in the article and with photographs, and I was just blown away. Then I opened up another magazine. I think it was Rue Morgue, and I just happened to open it up with Ghostbusters on the front. And there's a full page ad for HI-8 in there, and I was like going, wow. Actually, what we're looking at right now is probably the pinnacle of success for this type of underground movie, to get this kind of attention. All the national, you cannot do better than Gore Zone, Fangoria, Rue Morgue.
Rue Morgue did an article and or a review previously, right? Because I didn't see that one.
Horror Hound called us the Expendables of shot on video horror, and to me, you can't get a better compliment than that. Cause of course
it's true, and a lot of credit goes to Brad. Brad has been great about promoting it and really spreading the word on it. What was I going to say about it? For what you're saying is a movie made on a format like this. I don't remember a movie getting this sort of coverage, anytime recently, made, truly on the lower end analog formats. There's movies that have kind of duplicated it. What's that?
Which is usually what I still shoot on anyway. We even shot Deadly Dares, and I mastered it on just regular Super VHS videos, so the first cut. So
I've been upgrading to HD with all the recent productions, of course. But yeah, I mean, for years we were on that.
Well, yeah, it's time now for pretty much everybody, but I'm kind of behind in the times for sure.
That was another reason I wasn't that behind HI-8 as a distributor, because the DVD sales haven't been spectacular, you know. So the bigger deals we've gotten are for VOD, and they've only been for HD production. So having it not be on HD, I didn't see that big of a future for it as well. But you know, the concept of getting 8 filmmakers with all their fans coming together, you know, makes it 8 times as strong, you know.
It would not surprise me if it ended up, you know, going into Walmart and maybe even, you know, one of the streaming venues like Amazon Prime or Netflix, which are the 2 big ones, because it just seems to be gaining a remarkable amount of steam, which is it's great for all of us, because your segment is awesome, and everybody.
Thank you. So I enjoyed the whole movie, and I've watched it 3 times now, and each time I like it a little bit better. Which is rare for me. You know, I appreciate all the other segments more and more each time I watch them. So I think that's a good sign, and buzz is building about it. I guess we'll see now that it's finally hit DVD, you know, if it does build. There was a delay, I guess, with the DVD. I was told by one of the actors.
It was a slight delay. It was actually released on the day that they said it was going to be, which was, what
Tuesday.
was it, like December 16th? Yeah, December 16th. It was just some of the shipments went out a little bit late, and like some of the bigger vendors like Amazon and I think Best Buy received a slight delay in getting their shipments is all. So
Yeah, I didn't know about it. One of my actors asked me, and I was just like, oh, it was delayed? I have no idea why. A lot of people think I'm privy to info on it. I've had filmmakers who approach me about doing a segment in the next one. I'll be like, talk to Brad and Tim, because I was just a contributor. I'm not one of the producers. So.
Right, and I think there's already a buzz for HI-9 is what, it's got. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess we're going to add one person.
Is that a good title? I don't know.
I mean, who knows, you know? And like you said, though, it's kind of got to be a labor of love by all the contributors, because there's not a lot of money. And each segment, I don't know if people know this or not, each segment was self-financed just for the sheer passion of each filmmaker going, hey, I got $500. I'm going to go out and make this movie. We're going to give it to these guys, and they're going to put it out in a package, and then we're all just going to have kind of like a party, and hopefully the fans you're going to eat it up and enjoy it. And that's the whole motive behind it, really.
Was that your budget for your segment, 500? Because I know I put at least $1,000 into mine, and I was like, I probably would never see this back.
Yeah, about 600 is what I ended up putting at the very, very, very end. So
yeah, I'm not sure what everyone else put.
Each segment was kind of under $1,000. But I mean, there was no criteria. It was just pretty much, hey, whatever you want to put into it is, and yours looks great with all the kind of Carpenter-esque lighting in it and everything. So.
I approach that was the cheap part, doing the lighting stuff. I approach every production with like, okay, I want to put this much into it. Like She Kills, I want to put $2,500 into it, and then I'm going to $8,000 because I wanted to be very low budget. But as I developed it, I was like, you know, I'm just going to spend the money on this or that to make it that much better. And with my HI-8 segment, which was called Gangnam Style, I think I was going into it figuring I wanted to put about $250, $300 into it. And, you know, once you start paying, I have actors who always come up from Virginia who are good friends, like Jonathan Strayton and Michael Merchant and Trey Harrison. And my effects guy was from Virginia, and the effects were more expensive than planned because, you know, we did more things than originally planned. I was just like, you know what, whatever it takes money-wise, I'm just going to put it in there to make it the best it can be and hope the payoff is there. So.
Right. That's what I did. A lot of people that do these things, and they may not know, but when you start doing something, sometimes you just get so obsessed with doing the best you can, you just start throwing money in. As a matter of fact, our segment, we had a guy, Sven Granlund, he flew in from L.A., so at his own cost, on his own dime. So if you would have factored that in, probably be, you know, well over $1,000 just for him flying in and doing all the special makeup effects and everything. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know that we are doing this stuff out of pocket and stuff, and we're not. I don't think anyone in this anthology did like a fundraiser. They all paid for it out of pocket. So. Right,
and that's the way I've done everything up to this point, except for we have started a fundraiser for Truth or Dare 5. We've done one first portion on Indiegogo or one of those campaigns. So we have kind of explored that, and we're starting in a little bit just to try to, you know, see how it works and see, you know, if the fans bring, you know, a little bit of financial end to the table, because as you know, I guess a lot of times you never see this money back at all. It's just pretty much like, there we go. It was fun. But,
I think those key with the fundraisers is the stuff you offer, because I can't just sit there and say, give me money to make my movie and get nothing out of it. It's, you know, if they're paying $5-10, maybe the special thanks. But if you're pre-selling DVDs or Blu-rays or VHS, then you can say, hey, it's like you're pre-buying your product so we can make it, you know.
I think that's the best route. I think with Scott Tepperman, who's from Ghost Hunters International, he's helping produce this next Truth or Dare movie. But I think he's got like a variety of things, because he designed the campaign. Of course, you were involved as well, but there's like T-shirts for one per coffee mug. So you do get a novelty, but I do think the best thing is a DVD, because if you get it first, because it's like you said, it's kind of like pre-ordering. You got it like a month before it comes out or something.
Yeah, and people will pay for that. And I mean, you said I was a part of it, but I mean, it was really Scott. He just, I think he asked me to look it over and wanted to attach my name to it, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever else. But I mean, Scott, he put together a good campaign there. I'm not sure how much you worked on as well, but I'd only really heard from him when he was putting it together. So. Oh
yeah, definitely. He was kind of the mastermind behind it, and I just kind of helped him out, did a little bit of promoting, and tried to come up with some cool perks and stuff. We're probably going to do one more before we roll, and just try to get a little bit extra. And
how much did you raise on the first campaign there?
I think we were like around $3,000, which isn't bad. You know,
you wanted to get what, 8,000?
Yeah, I think we were looking for like 8. But I mean, Deadly Dare is out of pocket. The Truth or Dare 4 that costs out of my pocket like $5,000. So you know, if we can get like 5 or 6, I think it'll be a worthy follow up. And of course, you're the distributor, so. Already got that taken care of, so.
I do find it seems like 8,000 is about the amount of money I need on these productions. Like I did Empire State of Dead last month, and we only had to shoot really about half a movie, because half the movie is already done from the shorts that we picked from the contest, and that ended up costing me about $4,000, and I'm not even finished. So you know, like I said, no matter how much I try to keep this down, it seems to be like $8,000 is the amount. You know, and that's shooting with no crew. If you look at our behind-the-scenes footage on the previous videos, it's me, the sound guy, and one guy running camera recording us. And the crew, there's not like, catering and makeup people and, extra crew people. There was a few days where we had some extra people, but, by and large, it's, me and one or two other crew guys, because that's what we can afford.
I think that's it's just a sign of the times as far as the current value of a dollar in America. I mean, everything is so expensive. I mean, even if you have the $5 pizzas for the crew and you got to buy 6 of those, that's $30, and you do that twice for a shoot, and you got transportation and gas, and like you said, if anybody drives in from another state, and special effects, and
Michael from Virginia, I had Eli from St. Louis. I paid their gas, but they both work for free. And I look for people who work for free, because I'm not making money or tons of money off these productions if I do make anything. So I do it for the love. I just want to make a cool product. I hope something hits and we could do something bigger. But meantime, just if you enjoy acting, enjoy doing crew work, and just love being on set, my sets are fun. I always try to feed everybody, and then just come on out and help me out, and get something up on the big screen and out there a little bit.
Right. That's the same exact way we did HI-8. I think each of the filmmakers, did that. Yep. Same route there. And it's like, again, it's not like we don't pay anybody. I always try to slide the actors at least cost, gas money, maybe 20, 30, 40 bucks, depending on, what we have extra and what we've got. So it's never like they're not, and if they really do need to be paid and they're really good, I always try to, figure out a way to say, yeah, here's your 30 or 40, 50 bucks, whatever it is. Cause it's just tough times, even with all the all the desktop editing and everything. It's just really, people don't realize it is really financially tough to put together these projects and come to the completion of them. So
if it's a demanding lead role, I will usually pay the lead actor, because like on She Kills, it required a lot of time. She was definitely the focus. Of Jenny Russo played Sadie in the movie, and she was doing a lot of nudity as well. So I wanted to pay her because of the nudity, and I adjusted the rate depending on how naked she was. But yeah, it is tough. I mean, when you're talking about a 2-week shoot and you're paying $50 a day,
it adds up quick.
Yeah, exactly. I usually pay the effects guy. I mean, I always pay the effects guy as much as possible. I had so many different effects guys in Empire State of Dead that I didn't have a dedicated effects person, but when she kills HI-8, you know, I paid the effects guy. What's funny is though, I thought I hadn't paid any actors, you know, except for the leads for years. When I was going through old documents, I came across some old receipts and stuff from City of the Vampires. I saw I was paying all the actors, like, I think I was paying like $10 a day, or, you know, $20 a day or something. It's because they had these receipts for their acting. I was like, oh, that's funny, my first production. And I think I remember going back to that. I was like, you know, I'm going to pay the actors something, even if it's not much, just to be there. And I got away from that at some point. Again, not trying to make anyone feel like they're not worth the cost to have them on set. It's just, it's not there, you know. It's just, you know, it's all coming out of my pocket, and it gets rough, you know. I was like, holy cow, Empire State of Dead has cost me $4,000. I don't think anyone put that much into their shorts. So, you know, tough market though, it can be. So you and I share something in common though with our shorts. I want to make my short into a feature, and I believe you do as well. I think you originally came to me with the title first, and you said, hey, I like this title, which was Switchblade Insane, right? And you said, I think this would be a great title for a feature. And oh yeah, it sounds cool. So it could be something there. And then you end up using it for your short, and now I believe you would like to make that into a feature, correct?
Yes, I would like to do that in the very near future if possible. It's something that's on the drawing board, and like you said, with your segment, so it'd be kind of cool to see, you know, a lot of the segments become features if they had the same energy and passion as, you know, that we did. Then you add up, again, you're adding up, okay, if you got like 3 or 4 weekends and it costs $600 a weekend to do that, so you're again, we're at $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000. So,
exactly. My idea for mine, it'd be pretty big and epic, and I've written out so much of it. I write it out in notes on my phone, like all sorts of funny lines and stuff like that, and moments. And I was just thinking of it the other day, because I would like, you know, Wes Reed to come back and be the lead again, and I'm like, I don't think I could shoot this in 2 weeks. And probably the best scenario was he'd be able to take off 2 weeks from work to be able to do the production. So I'm like, I really need, I'd love to have like 3 months to shoot it because it's that big and epic. But I'm like, even to say if I had, you know, a month to shoot it, I'd have to shoot 2 weeks solid with him, and then have him come back on weekends. It's gonna be such a hard production to do if I ever do it.
Yeah, that whole weekend thing, shooting, you know, the weekend warrior thing, it's just like, it's got pros and cons to it, because unfortunately, you lose people lose interest, other things happen.
It's real tough when you got someone come from out of town, you know.
Yeah, and then, like you said, if you're not paying people a lot of money, it's really hard to keep people together for a month even on weekends. So it's kind of a tough thing for the indie filmmaker. Again, something that's not kind of like widely known. Even though the tools are there, it's more difficult than ever to kind of get everybody in one package and keep them there for a length of time, and keep the enthusiasm going too. So
yeah, I mean, if you have like a best friend who lives in the area who'll come and just constantly work on it, you know, that's a great scenario. But you know, we're using rare. What's that?
Rare these days anymore.
When you talk and I'm talking, I can't hear you, so I miss some of your stuff. I'm sorry, but yeah, with I would do a campaign probably for the Gangnam Style feature, and I wouldn't call it Gangnam Style, but I just refer to that as now. So I could pay the actors something out of it, but the bigger issue is, even if I was paying Wes, you know, X number of dollars to do the, you know, production from start to finish, he can't like quit his job and say, oh, I'm going to work on it straight for 2 months or 3 months or even a month. You know, the best he could do is take 2 weeks off and then come back on weekends, and it would just, you know, it would drag it out. I mean, I've done it before, obviously, but this one, I would like it to be bigger and more epic and more fun. So it might be a project that might take a little while. Maybe I need something else to hit big so I can be like, hey, Wes, quit your job and work for me full time, and we'll make productions, you know.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, it's a dream, right? You know.
That's it. Well, you never know what project will lead where. You know, like the whole thing when I started out, wow, it was like almost 30 years ago. The Little Truth or Dare short in an anthology movie, kind of similar to HI-8, led to you know, a whole kind of little mini franchise, including Truth or Dare Critical Madness. So It happens, and sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. But it's definitely a valid way to get a project, get excitement behind it and get people enthusiastic. And you got something you can show people. And actually, if you did do a fundraiser, you'd be able to put clips from, your short on there and everything and say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're amping it up, and they'll be able to see right what you're doing. So it's definitely got a lot of potential, I think.
I had debated shooting the feature in HD at the same time, so I'd have this like crystal clear HD cut, and I was shooting dual formats on She Kills, and it was really difficult trying to make sure both cameras are up and running. If I had someone who's dedicated to the SVHS camera on that shoot, and I ended up turning over to other people randomly on set, like, here, run this camera. I could do that on the Hi-8 short, but I really wanted the short to be as good as possible. So I was like, I'm just going to focus and shooting it analog and make it look as good as possible and using that. And if worse comes to worse, I'll go back and shoot some HD footage for alternative scenes or show how it would extend into a feature. Because the short idea would be kind of basically the start. It wouldn't be the opening scene, but it'd be one of the early scenes, would kind of go through the stuff you saw, and then the story would get bigger from there. So
right,
oh, go ahead.
First act or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like your first act, sort of.
Yep. Set it up, and then after that, you'd see all the trials and tribulations he would go through to continue to try to get the elderly people to safety. So, was shooting pretty smooth on your short?
Yeah, we have a lot of good people here in Kentucky. Claude D. Miles, he was kind of the producer of it, and he was able to pull in a lot of cool people through his Catnippery Productions. And the lead actress, she is phenomenal in it, and she does all kinds of stage plays and all that kind of stuff. So she's really cool to work with. And who else was in there? Ronnie Jonah, she's got like a big following, and she always has projects going. She's got an epic zombie movie that I think she's directing, as a matter of fact. Wow. So, yeah. So she's always doing stuff, and she was great to work with. And so it all ran pretty smooth for the most part. I can't think of anything that really kind of threw anything out of whack. It was just an intense, like, 3-day shoot right in a row. It was, just kind of like whew, keep going.
You did yours in 3 days. Okay, cool. Do you plan to use the same actors if you develop into a feature?
I think I would like to. Yeah, that would. Again, like the lead actress, I thought she did good. I forget her name because she's got a stage name. I think it's Christine Starglitter. She's got several names now on Facebook, so kind of tough to keep track of. But I think she would be really. She really did an excellent job with the performance and everything of the part. I don't want to give any of the twist away or anything, but it's kind of a psycho-ish Norman Bates type of thing going on there. So
it definitely, she is the centerpiece of it. So your short was dependent on it'd work or not work depending on her acting, and you definitely created a good '90s feel, shot on video short with that. Now, is yours going to be, if you develop into a feature, would it be basically that whole idea extended into feature length, or would that be kind of like what I was talking about, maybe like a first act and it would go from there?
I hadn't thought about it, all the way through. I mean, it could probably work either way. I guess we just have to sit down and try to figure out the outline. But that could be like the first opening thing, and then things go from there after, the first twist ending that's in the short. You can kind of take it from there, or you could kind of expand the whole concept and just lead it up to where it is, kind of expand the whole.
It might be cool to do that twist early on, and then go from there with it. That'd be different. You don't see that in a lot of movies. Usually they save that twist to the very end.
Right. So you could just take it from there and then maybe do some more twists. So that might be kind of cool. So
you mostly do the slasher movies. Is there any interest in doing any genres on your end?
Well, that's my favorite thing, so I guess you kind of stick with what you really like. So, I mean, I have no objections to doing, any kind of a movie. I'm a kind of a fan of the Dirty Harry movies and the the Golden Globus canon era of action movies. Of course, that's kind of hard to emulate. Even science fiction is hard to emulate, because I'm a big fan of Star Wars and everything.
Yeah.
But trying to do that with no money is fortunately like Halloween
slashers on a low budget level, like our level, work very well.
Yeah. Point of view shot. Oh, there's the killer's point. And even if somebody can't show up, if you got one person in your point of view shot, you're rolling, you know. So
yeah, you've been almost. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's just, well, like I said, it's just my favorite, you know, kind of movie, pretty much. So
I figured it was. You tend to do the slashers with the revenge element. You've been almost exclusively working in that genre, and I didn't know. I figured you did love that genre, obviously, but I didn't know if it was also because of budget reasons. If you had any dreams of doing a zombie short or some sort of monster feature.
I guess if the whim hit or like the tools or somebody with the tools, you know, that would say, kind of like Reconcile was another movie I made, and that kind of evolved with a special effects guy, Todd Ponsler, coming to me and going, hey, here's some visual effects that I do that, you know, I'm working on. And looking at what he did, we kind of wrote the whole script around you know, what he was doing. So if kind of an opportunity like that came, I would definitely wouldn't have, again, but of course if somebody came to me with $10 million and said, hey, we're going to do whatever, I would be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm ready for it. So
do you find it rough sometimes because you started kind of small, you know, some low budgets and stuff, and then you had some pretty major budgets for Truth or Dare and Killing Spree, and then you had to adjust back down to the small budgets. I mean, I guess you got to miss that, you know, having the huge, you know, crews and the money and shooting on film and stuff like that. You keep punching forward, but I mean, are you pretty content working on this level, or like you said, do you really, you know, would you like to get back up to those budgets?
I mean, either way is fine. I think you do this, again, because you love it, and there's a passion behind it, and it's really the only time that you feel alive, you know, doing this kind of stuff creatively. It's a good cathartic release, a good vent, and you can kind of, you know, for anything, any kind of statement that you want on whatever it might be, anything you're frustrated with in life. So you know, that being said, I mean, some of the budget movies I had were the most miserable shoots compared to strolling everything. When you get that money in there, you get all the people with opinions, and you have to listen because, you know, then they have something to kind of hang over your head going, hey, the financing, and it becomes kind of like a job more so, as opposed to just, you know, getting out there and creating and doing something really fun. So there's pros and cons. There's good shoots with budgets, and you can do a lot more special effects, and, you know, pay people, and of course you're getting paid, so that makes it even better. But true.
Take that time off from work, you should get paid.
Yeah, because that is your work. So it's like there's pros and cons probably to both. So
I love being on set, but that's where I was kind of trying to lead with that question was. It seemed like after Killing Spree, you didn't really pursue those budgets anymore. You saw SVHS as an option, and it seemed like instead of saying, hey, I want to raise, you know, another $100,000 to make my next, you know, feature, which was probably Wicked Games, you said instead, you know what, I'm going to shoot this in SVHS for a few $1,000s, and actually, I'm not sure what your budget was on Wicked Games, but I'm assuming it was under $10,000, and have that total control. Was that the scenario? Was that the case?
Pretty much. Wicked Games was shot in HI-8, pretty much. And I remember, this was a long time ago, like 22 years ago, but I actually did go around and try to get money for that. And I spent like 2 years in Florida going around Fort Lauderdale meeting investors for Truth or Dare Part 2. And make a long story short, I mean, it was meeting after meeting after meeting, and changes and contracts and partnerships, and guys who ended up ripping off a bunch of people at the same time, venture capitalists. And I did raise like $5,000 in venture capital, got that, and the company went out of business in the middle of Wicked Games, but I was, through some loophole in the company, I was allowed to utilize the money because I'd already started spending it for pre-production. And then I think I got a credit card and just said, you know what, I need more money, I'm going to continue to do it like this. And that's when I kind of saw the do-it-yourself route was just more liberating and free than you know, being tied down for years trying to put together limited partnerships, and you know, I mean, nowadays you have the Indiegogo and the Kickstarter type of thing, but you know, then you really had to do the legal legwork, and it was time consuming, and there's so many rules with limited partnerships and general partners and how many you can approach, and then you need a lawyer to put all that together, and everybody has a vote on it unless you word it right, and it goes on for years and years and years like that. So, in other words, you spend more of your time trying to raise money than actually making a movie. So I was like going, I'd rather be out trying to, being on the set and making a project. So
Was
takes long enough. It is.
Was the intent to shoot it on film originally, or had you pretty much said, "Hey, I'm gonna raise money and shoot this on HI-8"? And
Oh no. Originally it was man, it was a huge project, and it was like $350,000-$400,000.
oh, okay.
We had Linnea Quigley, David A.
Oh, wow.
Hess, and Camille Keaton had a role. Had them all signed up. The money was coming in.
Awesome.
Oh, it would have been a really cool movie. I really wish that we could have done that, because it just would have been. It was awesome talking to David A. Hess all the time. I'd be on the phone with him going, "Give me a line from Last House on the Left, man," or just say "hello, lady" for me. From House on the Edge of the. So.
You had made, I think, Creep by the time I talked to you, and I didn't, I didn't really know what history and stuff you had gone through. Based when you approached me, you had, I think you approached me Killing Spree, Creep, and Wicked Games, and you didn't come to me right away with Truth or Dare, or Day of the Reaper, and Twist Illusion, all those yet. And all I'd known from you was magazines like. The horror magazines, maybe Fangoria. I don't know if I'd seen you in Fangoria at that point. You may have been in there, but I'd seen you in other like underground fanzines and stuff like that. So I knew who you were. I think I was actually working on a Tempe when you called one day to talk to JR, I knew who you were. I don't think he ended up talking to you for some reason that day, but had never crossed paths with you until I got back home into Syracuse and started my own distribution company, and sent me your stuff out. And we had an initial, big success with it. We've been up and down since, but I mean, we launched, like a rocket. We had the big foreign sale of the 3 titles, and I took my half of that, and I made Vicious Sweet from it. So it was like good timing,
Yeah. It was. That was probably like 96, and I was trying to self-distribute Creep and Killing Spree and Wicked Games, and that's when you were starting up Salt City from the ground floor up, pretty much, with City of the Vampires and maybe a couple
Savage
other Savage
Harvest and Darkest Soul. At least before you approached me, I might have had 1 or 2 others. But.
So that was kind of the very beginning of among the first titles there. So. And I was impressed. You did a great job, getting the stuff out there. And I think Killing Spree, and then I think we did a limited edition of Truth or Dare a couple years later, or a year later. And
once we did well, you started sending me more titles.
Right.
And the German deal, that was good money. I thought we'd be selling to Germany like crazy after that. And it just, I think he may have bought 1 or 2 other titles, but they might have been other titles. And then he stopped distributing, and foreign market was up and down after that. I don't know if we ever had that big of success again. So one of the issues with Truth or Dare is not having those original elements. I'd love to do a Blu-ray of Truth or Dare and do a transfer from the original print.
Right.
Really high quality, but it's just those materials, you have no idea where they are, correct?
That's correct. I do not know at this time. So
where were they last left?
There's so many groups involved. They're probably somewhere in Northbrook, Illinois. There were several companies involved: VSI International, Peerless Films, Gaff Productions, and then of course Twisted Illusions Incorporated. And we ended up being the last company that was actually still in business after everything went out, and then they folded the partnership. So that's how we ended up with what we have. So but nobody did have the original elements at all. So
where they had a lab out there, I mean, we could try calling the old labs there and seeing if they have the masters by chance.
It was edited on equipment called Envision, which was invented by the guy who actually created it, and I'm not sure, I don't know if he's still around or not, but I think there was I think all the original 16mm negative, kind of like what we did for Killing Spree, was just the negative of the film was transferred to 3/4-inch videotape, and that's what we edited with. As far as the film, I don't know where they even.
Okay, so it was never cut on film, pretty much direct transfer. I know you sent me all the I think they're Betacam SP tapes for Killing Spree years ago. I'm not sure what kind of condition they are, being that they've sat for a long time. But the hope was always to go back to those original elements restore them and
Right.
transfer them. It's just such a big job. I just have not been able to.
That would be a really good release, yeah, for Killing Spree to actually have you go back, transfer it to the best digital format that you could, and then maybe re-edit it, put the score differently, or do a different score, or put it together differently.
Yeah, we'd probably have to redo the score. I'm sure the score is lost. I don't know what you had that on originally, but it'd be cool to go back and cut it like your original intention, like your rough cut there that we did the VHS release of.
Right, there is more footage that really hasn't been seen released, and it could, a different edit could be a different approach, a kind of more modern approach and tighter, and who knows, it might come out really, really, really cool. It could be a good project for Blu-ray.
Yeah, I always plan like almost every winter to be like, I'm gonna finally attack that. I got the Betacam deck. As a matter of fact, it's right up there. And I bought that years ago to transfer that footage, and I still have not got around to doing that. But again, I worry the footage, how good those tapes are going to hold. The Betacam are a little bit better, 3/4 inch. Those are high maintenance. And anytime I tried to transfer stuff off 3/4 inch, like when I bought out the Market Square library, the stuff's always been a mess.
Oh, wow.
The tape's unusable. So I would guess that if there's
I think
3/4 inch.
There is 1-inch videotapes somewhere we might be able to get a hold of if those are bad. And 1-inch is probably even better than the Betacam. But the Betacam probably hold up. But it's hard to tell, though.
if the tapes, haven't gotten moldy or something, then, I'm sure they would be fine. But yeah, what was your shooting ratio on that movie? Do you remember? It was like 1:2, 1:5.
Killing Spree?
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of footage. A lot of times it was one take, so maybe 3-1 usually. So,
oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad.
You've only got like under 8 hours of footage there, so it shouldn't take you long to just transfer it over. At least you'll have it.
I want to cut the analog cut of She Kills over the winter, and I'm also cutting episodes for the show, which can be or for the channel, the YouTube channel, which can be time consuming and stuff. But and I got to cut Empire State of Dead. But yeah, I would love to attack it. I think if I could just get it on the computer, get all the footage captured, then that would be the hard part, because then I just got to follow your edits and cut it, and then hire someone to do the new score. And we'd find, I'm sure, a ton of different people would be willing to do it.
Right.
And was all the dialogue on those master tapes, or did you record the dialogue separate as well?
Dialogue was recorded separately on a Nagra 1/4 inch tape. I have that, but it was also transferred onto the negatives there, or the negative transfer. So the transfer you have, it should all be synced up on there. And if there's something missing, you can either take it from the other cut, or we do have the 1/4 inch tape somewhere. So I still have
good to know. Okay.
Yeah, all the elements are still around. So
yeah, I'd love to attack it. So, well, we got off track with HI-8 a little bit. It was our main reason for talking. But anything else about the project that you wanted to mention coming up? Anything about your particular segment?
No, it was just a lot of fun to do, and I hope it finds the market. I'll hold up the actual copy. It's available on VHS as well, so you can get HI-8 on VHS. So
how many of the VHS did they release again? Was it 500?
I don't think there's any cap. I don't think it's limited.
Oh, okay. I thought it was limited.
Yeah, you can just keep going on and on and on. So I'd say get a copy on VHS and get a copy on. I think the DVD has extras, commentary by Brad, and I guess I don't know if any of the other filmmakers did it, but maybe
I think just Brad and Josephina. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it would have been cool if we could have each done our own, but that might have been like just kind of a nightmare to sing and stuff.
That would have been hard to lay in for each one. So I think Brad and Josephina did the commentary, which is cool because they were the kind of the overseers of everything. I mean, I worked with them as much as they needed me, to help with different filmmakers and pull things together and make the contracts right and make decisions. But when it came down to the nitty-gritty of actually putting the thing together with editing and put the package together, they were the ones left handling everything once they got all the elements. So they did a great job on
Did you consider doing a commentary track, or is it just something you weren't interested?
I mean, I considered doing it, but I was just waiting to see what approach that everybody wanted to take. And again, I'm sure I'm sure they were very thorough for all of us because they kind of, and it's kind of interesting for them, to have the commentary track just come from that angle where, people contributing two segments, assembling it all together, and then being able to give an overview and talk about each filmmaker and their personalities and what they delivered. So I think it's going to be a great commentary track. I've yet to hear it,
no
though.
doubt, no doubt. Well, I mean, you could have done a commentary track, not just on your short, but on being that you're one of the producers as well. I didn't know if you had considered doing one talking about the entire feature.
Right. Yeah, I didn't consider doing the whole feature. So yeah, that's an idea. Maybe for the next release, right? I'm sure there'll be another.
He does
one,
a special edition, yeah. If they're going to do a special edition, it's got to be worth it to have all the filmmakers do a little commentary track on their segment, and
cool.
edit it all together into one commentary track. Yeah. But interested in seeing the DVD cut of it for sure. So
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, I think.
So DVDs finally out in the stores, VHS unlimited. Any other plans that you know of at this point that they're planning for it? Is there any VODs brewing? Are you privy to any of that info?
I think it's already on. What is it? iTunes. I believe you can already get it on there, and I'm sure Amazon. I'm sure it'll be on Amazon at some point. So I don't know. It's Wild Eye Pictures, I think. So whatever their procedure is, and once they get a title rolling, it just either takes off or it doesn't. So I'm hoping this is one that really takes off in all the different retailers and everything. And so far, with the publicity and everything in the magazines that I've seen, I think it's gonna do really well for everybody. So
sure. The Wild Eyes really come out of. I wasn't really much aware of them until say the last 6 to 9 months. And correct me if I'm wrong, but to me they came out of nowhere and have really championed the underground scene. And I'm interested to see how well they do with the production because, I have my own distribution, outlet and stuff, and I enjoy releasing stuff, but I'm not as aggressive with it as, I used to be in the past. And I enjoy the small... What's that?
Hard to do when you're making movies and editing.
I'd rather be focused on that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like doing the limited edition because they go direct to the retail and stuff, and then you're kind of in and out of them very fast and stuff like that. And doing the occasional DVD release when I got something I'm excited about, but if Wild Eye can turn the same numbers that I'm making, say from distributing the stuff myself, I'd be glad to just make movies and send it their way, and let them release it. So I'm real interested to see how this does with them. So
yeah, it should be cool. They did kind of come out of nowhere. They got some strange titles that are very intriguing. I think there was like Showgirls 2 or something.
Oh, really?
And I was like going, where did this come from? I don't know how that all came about, but they got some really interesting looking titles. And I was in Walmart a couple weeks ago, and I picked up a title, and it had the Sleepaway Camp cast in it, and it's a Wild Eye release. And there it was in Walmart, right in the new release $9.99 bin. So it's pretty impressive. So and you're right,
it wasn't a sleepaway movie though, right? It was some other movie with that cast.
Right. It was just they were kind of capitalizing on I guess it's Felicia Rose and maybe was in there. So yeah, I was pretty impressed that they got that out like that. So.
I was talking to Todd Sheets at a VHS Fest about releasing some of his stuff, and I had. Mainly for VHS, but I had asked him about the DVD rights, and he said he sent a bunch of masters over to Rob at Wild Eye and for them to release. So they were even seeking the old stuff, which was cool, because a lot of guys have no interest in that old stuff, Yeah. A lot of distributors, I should say, bigger distributors.
Yeah, they seem to be really, really, I assume they're kind of fans of the scene, and they just want to kind of do the best job that they can to get this stuff kind of out there and archived, so which is very, very cool.
Takes a lot of work.
Lots of work.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we covered HI-8. So your other flicks, I know Truth or Dare is off the market. I've had a few people ask me, if there's any plans to do a new Truth or Dare release, and we've talked several times about doing like a box set. I keep waiting for you to kind of be finished with the series. Maybe that'll never happen, so we can do them.
It goes on
I hate when someone does a box set and then they make another movie, and then they have to either do another box set or you have a box set in the one movie. So I like to just have it all done. I like a series be done and then buy the box set. But one of the reasons I've hesitated with Truth or Dare again is because I'd like to do something different with it, like a remastered version or something, instead of just doing the same basic release again, with new commentary track or something. I want to do something more with it.
Right.
But we've talked. I think we talked, at one point doing about the 3, and then we talked about doing the 4. Geez, I don't know. I know the Truth or Dare old copies now are starting to go up in price. Didn't you tell me Killing Spree was selling for kind of a high amount?
You mean on VHS or
no, on DVD on eBay?
I don't
know.
Was
it Truth or Dare where the prices were starting to go up instantly, like once it sold out?
Yeah, Truth or Dare at one point was going like $2,000 or $3,000 on some of the like Amazon market. Yeah,
on DVD or VHS?
It was the DVD when it was out of print before we did that other release. It was like, wow! I was like going, who could afford? And it actually sold. So, but Killing Spree, I don't know. Well, Killing Spree hasn't gone as high because remember we did that deal with Camp Video, and those.
I gotta talk to them because they are they're way out of contract and they're still selling it. And I let it go for a few years thinking they have old stock, but I mean they've got to be sold out. I mean it's a classic title; it's got to be selling steady. How many copies did they possibly run? I had to talk to them about just it's time to put that one to bed.
Right.
But they didn't pay us that much money for a lump sum to be selling it for this long for sure. So
I think it should be up, shouldn't it? Because it was only for like 3 years or something.
It ended a while ago. And every so often I'll get a statement from where we'll show this big loss and it's made no movement. And I find it hard to believe that they still got copies out there in the marketplace that haven't sold out with the amount that they run originally. So I keep meaning to drop them an email. I don't remember what the amount was originally. I don't know if they even told me. But I just got to drop an email like, dude, you guys should have sold this out by now. We got to be at least 3 years or more outside of that agreement for them to still be selling it. It seems like, even my slowest sellers have sold out in that amount of time. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Some of my slowest sellers haven't sold out in that time. But any sort of title I've had of yours or something, even if it was a slow seller, we had to blow it out at $1 a piece. They haven't lasted, 3+ years after agreement has ended. They've cleaned out of stock. So, and I would think they would do the same thing. Title's not selling. Find someone who's going to buy it out at $1 a piece and get it cleaned out. So,
right.
But I'd like to do a new release of Killing Spree, and that would be the ideal one, to remaster it and maybe do the limited edition Blu-ray, but a bigger run because it's far more bigger title than say Day of the Reaper, where we only did the 100 Blu-rays.
Right. I'm surprised that movie's done as well as it has. I mean, we've released it multiple times, and even before that, when I made the original Truth or Dare back in '86, it was amazing. People, there was, when there was articles about Truth or Dare, people would contact me and they would want to buy Day of the Reaper. So I mean, the thing has sold steadily for 30 years now, and never a complaint. If you look at it for what it is, nostalgically, and for somebody just starting out with absolutely nothing and knowing absolutely nothing, it's kind of an inspirational movie for independent movie makers, as bad as it is.
Yeah, I didn't know the history of it. And when you sent it to me, I think it was like the last movie you sent me to ever handle, and really? Outside of the newer stuff you made. But yeah, you sent it to me. It was like a pop-up video where you're calling it like the Plan 9 of B movies or something.
Yeah, it's almost. I was doing the commentary and I was almost embarrassed, but then I was like, this really started everything. And as bad as it is, I kind of got in the mind. I don't know if you listened to the commentary yet, but I kind of got into the mindset of where I was at the time, and then it was all kind of a revelation for me, where I was like, going, well, yeah, this does have merit in the spirit of starting out. And I was like thinking, have I really improved in 30 years beyond having sync sound? I don't know.
It seemed like you embraced it more than you did when you sent it to me prior, because you had the pop-up videos and the whole way you presented it to me, and I had to make a cover from Frame Grabs, and it didn't sell very well, and I didn't think there was much interest in it. But it was funny once I wasn't really selling it or doing anything with it. Oops, hold on. It seemed to that people were asking about it, so we did it for our first VHS release. And it sold, I think, out within a few days. It was just, 30-unit release. But people seem to still be asking about it. So, it made sense to make it the first Blu-ray because of the interest. And it made more sense because you didn't have a good transfer of it. So to be able to transfer it from the original film. And, I mean, it's people hopefully are expecting, like, HD, they're expecting HD, but I mean a crystal clear picture, like IMAX quality,
Right.
Disney, Pixar, sharp graphics resolution.
It looks really good and
it is a big improvement.
It's sleazy. It's got hairs and all kinds of weird stuff in the gate, and
there's a lot of.
It'd be like if you went to a drive-in and looked at it, it'd be like, oh, wow, this is cool, man.
There's a lot of noise because 8mm. There's a lot of noise in the picture, and there's a lot of dirt and hair and spots and stuff like that. That would take years, to clean all that stuff up, and so it wasn't something that was in the cards for this, but it was just cool to see it when I played it on my my flat screen TV HD. And have it, there was the bars on the side, but have it fill the whole picture and be able to see the picture and to be able to see what's going on in those darker shots. Where I also put the the original transfer on the Blu-ray. I wasn't able to fit it on the DVD, but it's on the Blu-ray. And to compare it, to go and compare it, and you see how muddled the picture was, and being that it was probably even transferred. Not only did you record it with a video camera, then you made masters from that. It was just. It was such an improvement. I was just definitely
amazing that the movie sold as long as it did, looking like something that was projected into a shoebox, which is actually what it was. And now we've got a really pristine for that movie transfer, and it's night and day. I think you, like you said, you see stuff that you've never seen before, and even some of the effect scenes. You can see the detail and how hard we actually tried to get it to look right. It may not have been perfect, but as kids out there with a Super 8 camera, it's you can really see all the details, which is really cool, I think. So
once people, your fans who know the history of it, be like, okay, he was a kid when he made it. It makes you like the movie that much more. Because you did something a lot of people couldn't do at that age. Wish they could have done. So as rough as it is, it's a lot of fun, and you just tend to love it because it's like watching that 8mm film at the end of the Super 8 movie. The J.J. Abrams movie. It's like you just sort of laugh and enjoy it with it. Yeah. What's that?
I love that movie for that reason, because it felt like kind of like growing up. I was like going, wow, I remember doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can appreciate it more than most people, because a lot of these guys are making movies now. They didn't ever shoot on film. They went straight to video, or straight to HD nowadays.
Yes, it is. But it's a cool little film, and if you like this sort of thing, I think it's a good little package that you put together there for the collector for sure.
Yeah, hopefully people dig it. It seems like I'm surprised you haven't remade it. And it seems like it's prime for a remake, where I could see you really updating the story, from some of the elements of it that are definitely, you could tell like a kid wrote it, to fix some of that stuff up and shoot it, because you got the basic, plot for the basic skeleton for what could be a really cool story there. I could see you expanding it into a new feature and updating it. Have you thought about remaking? I believe you have. I believe we've talked about this.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about it a couple of times, and I think I actually had Matt Hill, a fan. He actually wrote a remake script, and unfortunately, there was another guy.
He mentioned it to me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon Loving, who contributed to Deadly Dares. He did some of the Crazy Dare stuff. He was going to direct it, and for some reason, it didn't pan out. So, but it would be fun to kind of just maybe do it, kind of update it now, either remake it or do a sequel just with what I know now, with the equipment now, and just kind of do it for fun and try to spend like $1,000 on the whole movie. Kind of like, that movie cost about probably $1,200 to $1,500 back in 1984. So maybe try to take that amount of money now and just use that same framework and plot, maybe with it. And the funny thing about that movie is it was made by kids, but every part in the movie was an adult role. And that was something I noticed. I don't think I mentioned that on there. It was like, here's these, 16, 17-year-old kids playing, real estate agents and brokers and all these, adult roles. So it would be fun to kind of do it as an adult and, even do it crazier and sleazier this time around, of course. So, and then, of course, definitely. I like the ending with the two killers fighting each other. It'd be kind of hard to beat Jason versus Freddy, but that was the intent back then. I was like, what if these Michael Myers and Leatherface got together and there was a big battle? So
yeah, it was real obvious. So you were a fan of
it. Black mask, white mask.
I haven't seen the Town That Dreaded Sundown remake yet, but it almost sounds like they took a page from your script from the original Day of the Reaper, from what I've gathered from the plot, with the girl sort of being haunted by the Reaper, and there's like what's the word I'm looking for? There's like it's not just based in reality. It's almost like not a dream. I mean, like an other world sort of angle, on it as well. I could be wrong because I'm just gauging what I got in the trailer. I'm able to see that remake, but I was like watching. I was like, geez, that kind of sounds like Day of the Reaper a little bit. So.
Oh wow, that's funny. Yeah, you never know. With somebody could have been inspired by it, or just kind of had a similar breakdown when they were trying to make the movie.
Yeah, I mean, they may have never saw Day of the Reaper. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. It's funny how much sometimes our movies are out there where I'll meet somebody who's in the industry who'll know who I am, and I'll be like, really, you know who I am? And
yeah.
but I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, it's just it's funny because it does have that resemblance. It seems like anything that we make, eventually there's some movie else out there that has a similarity to it. And but I mean, just the fact that it almost seems like modern audiences are kind of calling for that type of script right now. It might be a prime time for you to remake Day of the Reaper and stay pretty close to your original story, but just update it and make it more adult,
Yeah, that could be a good possibility. So
would you play the cop again?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, because that would save me from having to pay somebody, right?
True. It'd be funny if you revisit that, but play the role, the same exact role, but as an adult. You played as a kid before.
Now I can do my bad Clint Eastwood impersonation.
You don't have the big long
body
locks,
somewhere over there. Go ahead and make my day, punk. I mean, it'd be kind of fun to kind of do it.
You have your epic battle with the Reaper again there, and
yeah, that was a fun shoot though, because I can tell some of the scenes. I think I mentioned in the commentary where an actor couldn't make it or didn't show up, and I was able to slip into the role and play the part. So it would be kind of cool to do that again as well. So,
was it? I mean, it's your very first feature. I know you did some shorts before that. I mean, that had to have been pretty difficult. You're trying to direct it and star in it. I mean, not too many people will do that as a feature. Sure, as a kid, but a feature,
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of what I did on that movie, it's still what we do today. When you do these shoots and people don't show up, you jump into the role, and it was kind of like a training ground for what we're all doing now. You don't really do any of it differently. It's just you either have more money and more people involved, or you just kind of improvise and adapt. So either way, it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, you always seem to have a cameo, all your movies by and large, but that was like a major leading role. I don't think you've done a role that big since, have you?
No, and as a matter of fact, I was watching Lucille Fulci's, Cat in the Brain, and I was like thinking, maybe it's time for me to kind of take a role, and man, I keep thinking, maybe I can pay myself $50 to,
Pay yourself check.
It's like, I get an extra slice of pizza.
You can stand off to the side and tell people not to talk to you because you're on break and trying to stay in character, But I mean,
I would love to play kind of like a Dr. Loomis role too. That would be kind of cool. And the trench coat, the beard, and no hair. I mean, it'd be cool. That
could be your cop character in the Day of the Reaper remake. I mean, you definitely got to play the cop again, but you could play the cop where he's twisted and he's been looking for the Reaper for years and obsessed with him, and he hasn't he's completely discarded his life, so he has no wife and kids and anything. He's just this hermit who focuses on the Reaper and hunting him down and stopping him finally.
Right. Well, I guess it would have to be the cop's twin brother, because he died in the movie, but that would still
I'm
work.
talking about a remake, not a sequel. So
okay, yeah.
If it's a remake, you could be the cop again, or make
true.
a sequel. I don't really like sequels at this level, though. They don't sell, so I'd say go for the remake.
Really? The remake would be better, huh?
Yeah. You use the same title, Day of the Reaper, for sure.
Yep. Day of the Reaper. Again.
I just think you have to hint at the White Reaper sooner. He came kind of out of the blue in that movie.
Yeah, and I was like watching that going, it was like, of course, I was a young horror fan. It was hilarious. I was like, I named him Argento, of course. And I'm like thinking, boy, that's kind of crazy. Name all the characters after your favorite filmmaker.
Very common in low budget. I see that all the time. How many times has someone had Romero in their movie, a character named Romero? So.
Well, then Carpenter started it with like Escape from New York or something.
Did he start it? Oh, I didn't even know that. Huh.
Well, I think he did. Escape from New York was like one of the first ones where I noticed like everybody was like Cronenberg and all
Yeah.
the famous directors from the 70s and 80s there.
I took a different twist. I was going to do it at some point. I don't know why I did it necessarily in Empire State of Dead. I was going to do it in something else that made more sense, but I used a whole bunch of filmmakers who I worked with. Like, there's a character named Ritter. He's like he's the main character, actually, of the wraparound. There's a character named Sheets. A character named Sykes and stuff. So, and I was going to do a character. The only one I didn't put in there was Stanzi. I had an idea for a character who was going to be Stanzi, and then I ended up not putting the character into it. So if I end up doing a sequel, I'd bring the Stanzi character in there. But I did like Fred Olin Ray, so I had a character named Ray, and who else was there? Gallagher, Lind for Jalen, Polonia. So I did a whole bunch like that in Empire State of Dead. It doesn't really make sense for the movie, but I was just like, I don't know, it made me feel like, okay, I got to tie into my low budget roots here and really sort of channel, all these other filmmakers to make this thing right.
Well, that's cool. When's that one going to be coming out? Next year?
Yeah, I'd like to have it all edited over the winter here. But there's a couple scenes I got to shoot. Basically, winter was just kicking in too soon, and it was too cold. And the one location I had no electricity, and it had no that I lost for a second. Had no heat, and we were shooting over nights where the temperatures was dropping down like in the 20s, and they're gonna have tons of blood on them and stuff. So I was like, well, let me shoot. It's basically this other subplot that ties into the main plot, which is what we already shot was the main plot stuff. So the subplot stuff I'll shoot in the spring. Hopefully everything else will be cut, ready to go at that point. So I just have to cut those scenes together. Tag it all in together, maybe do a premiere. I might be able to do it around the same time as She Kills when I do the She Kills premiere, maybe the same weekend. If not, sometime after that, I'll do a premiere for it, early summer, late spring. If I'm real happy with it, send it to some film festivals. I probably will anyways, but if I'm super happy with it, I'll send it to a ton of them. But send it off to some film festivals, and then sometime in the fall, once it's played some festivals and stuff like that, start sending around for distribution. So project was designed to go right to, hopefully appeal to the distributors out there to be able to take it and get it on a VOD platform pretty quick. Yeah, question.
So it's shot in HD. And is it like kind of like an anthology, but it all ties together as far as zombies, the zombie invasion happening all over the world? So you got different directors involved, kind of like HI-8.
Well, it's not all over the world. It is HD. It's but it's set strictly in New York State. I wanted to focus on a theme that was just like one state, and if it will, of course, do New York. That's where I live, and try to make it appeal to New York State filmmakers, which I'm always trying to promote New York State filmmakers with my film festival, which is part of the Scarecon convention. So we had the contest where filmmakers from around the state submitted. I was hoping to get more, but I think we got 12 or 13 total submissions, and we whittled that down to 7. And then from those 7, I then made a wraparound story, and I had to kind of wait until the contest was done and announced, and we had Scarecon in September, and then to get all the masters from all the filmmakers, because I didn't want to start shooting the wraparound and not get one of the shorts in. And one of the shorts actually ended up withdrawing because even though he was originally a finalist, because he had put all his opening credits into the opening scene, and he didn't want to pull his credits out, and it didn't make sense because you're doing a movie and suddenly you see these credits in the middle of the movie cutting to a segment. So if I'd shot stuff for his, it would have gone to waste, and screwed up the timeline. So once I had all the masters in, I could finalize my story and start shooting. So we're talking like October, middle of October, late October before I'm able to start my pre-production, and literally had to shoot 2 to 3 weeks later after that. And I never put a production that big together that quick. I'm usually taking like 6 months to a year, pre-production, just writing storyboards and stuff. So I decided to shoot it, very much off the cuff documentary style, so I could, so I didn't have to worry about storyboards beforehand. So that gave me one last thing to work on, and just really focused really hard on getting the right actors. I kept having casting issues because the amount of time for people to take off straight, to be able to work on it. To kind of rush and get it in, having a tough time with the locations, finding the right locations, and what was the other problem? Oh, getting zombie extras, which I'm getting a decent number, but it really took a lot of work and a lot of basically constantly going on Facebook and Twitter and saying, please be a zombie extra, please be a zombie extra, we need people, spread the word, spread the word. So, and I'd have to repeat a lot of the zombies, but But it was an interesting production. Every production's a learning experience. Is always fun. I love being on set, which you mentioned earlier. I mean, that's like the best time, just to be on set. And so, anyways, yeah. So I shot this wraparound stuff to tie all the shorts together to make it one cohesive movie. Even though you're watching the movie and it tangent off in the storyline that sometimes has an ending, sometimes doesn't. Sets up for something bigger. We never get back to. But the hope would be that it does well, and we can shoot a part two. And some of the shorts. I can go back to the filmmakers and say, shoot a continuation of yours and let's see how we can tie it in. Maybe eventually they all come together. Ideally, I'd love to do 3 where it has like, this is the beginning of the outbreak. We do the middle of the outbreak and the end of the outbreak because it's very much a homage. Any zombie movie is a homage to Romero's movies, his original trilogy. And that's what this would be, distinctly would be. So we'd have our dawn, of the Empire State of Dead, and then our day of the Empire State of Dead, and then everything would wrap up, hopefully in the final one. So
cool. You're planning 2 more, huh?
That's the plan. I didn't think I'd be shooting another feature this quick. I was planning on shooting a feature at the end of summer that I'd written just to be shot basically in my house. But it was a monster feature, and it required kind of a big, extensive monster costume. And after talking to a few effects people who, one guy did get back to me. I wasn't really happy with what he was coming up with. And I talked to another girl who was going to get back to me with a design and a price and stuff like that. And she didn't. Asked her a few times. I felt like I was running out of time, so I was like, I'm going to put this off maybe to the spring. I'd love to still do it in the spring. Just a quickie, cheap production where I can get my closest friends together. So we're hanging out, having a good time. We're shooting a feature while we do it. It was just an excuse to hang out. But, I did shoot this. So I got HI-8, got Empire State of Dead. I got She Kills, which is basically done, except I'm waiting on the final music and this one stop motion effects for this one, for one of the final scenes. And I think that, and then Night of Something Strange, which I produced. I didn't direct it. Hopefully coming out next year. It should be done next year and hitting the film festivals too. So there's a lot on slate. And a bunch of stuff I produced.
Right.
There's a sequel to Sex Squatch that Chris Seaver made that I produced. There's Zillafoot, which Anthony Polonia, Mark Polonia's son, made, which I produced. I've been waiting for him to finish that for a while. So a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, the Truth or Dare movie. So when is your shoot date? You starting that in the spring?
Probably somewhere in there. It's depending on we got to do one more draft of the script and downsize it a little bit, and then might do another fundraiser. So yeah, it's probably somewhere in the spring or very early summer, May, somewhere like that. So
cool. I should also mention there's a couple web series I want to start shooting. First I'm going to do is some shorts, but there's some that are going to tie in and be sort of like a TV series one. One of them ties into you as well, but I don't want to really reveal what that is yet until I've only done the first draft on it. 10 episodes, 8 minutes each. But there's some shorts I want to do. Yeah, I'm eager to show that to you, but I don't want to reveal too much until I polish it up so you can read it and just be like, oh, wow. I'm hoping you like the take I did on it, so we'll see.
I'm sure it'll be cool. I mean, man, everything's it's like Breaking Bad. I don't know if you're familiar with that show. That was a classic, and now they're going back and kind of doing the what is it, Better Call Saul or something with the
I've only heard a little bit about it. I never watched that series, but
oh wow, you need to watch that. You'll be addicted.
I started watching it. It didn't grab me right away, but I know if I sit down and watch more of it, the series I got into and I want to finish before I start another one is Sons of Anarchy. I just finished season 3, and I'm digging that. It's probably it'd probably be in my top 25 of series ever. Not my top 10, but I do like it a lot. Definitely digging that one. So
cool. Yeah, I think you'll like Breaking Bad. You got to give it like 6 or 7 episodes before you really get addicted to it.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by the final seasons and the stuff that I've heard about it. It sounds pretty awesome, and I like the arc of the main character there. But yeah, I just haven't had a chance to give it a full focus.
There's just so and that's another thing, as far as all of us competing for time and the limited time that everybody has. People are binge watching TV shows on Netflix, and you got sports and you got video games, you got all this stuff. It's so hard to find people, and everything's on YouTube, so it's like it's so hard to find
there's a lot to watch
out market. Sure. Yeah, I don't see where people get the time.
I have to watch stuff when I'm working, but a series like Breaking Bad, I don't want to watch it while I'm working so I can really focus on it, because some series like that just demand more of your attention.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun to pop on a stupid zombie movie on Netflix that I don't have to, you know, be fully absorbed into, you know, or I'm going to miss a major, you know, plot point or something. And so I can pop that on or listen like Howard Stern on Sirius or something like that during it while I work. Hey, that's fine. But I can't watch Breaking Bad while I'm working. I need to be able to sit in the couch and not be disturbed and fully absorb myself into it. It's like watching Hitchcock movies. You know, I can't watch Hitchcock movies on Netflix and work. You know, I need like all the lights off and just the TV in front of me so I can just study it as I watch it. You know, so. But yeah, I love to do these series. I'm not sure how much they're going to cost, but maybe some point midwinter I can start focusing on them again. But there's a few series, like I said, with just some shorts that aren't necessarily tied in together, just random shorts that I could shoot meantime just to stay up to speed. And then there's stuff like this. There's a retro gaming show that we've shot some episodes for that are, you know, 10, 15-minute long episodes that I can cut together. And there's I did this Poe reading thing with Gora, the kid from India, which you probably know who Gora is, right? Has Gora ever emailed you or posted on your page? This is an Indian kid who's he's a crazy actor, but he's funny as shit.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him.
Real passionate actor and stuff. So I have him reading a Poe short, and I got some animation to put over it, which is taking me a little while to cut. So I got that stuff. So we should wrap up here quick. But and before I give you a final chance to plug anything else going on, I wanted to add in when I had the idea for it, like a filmmaker tip. And one of the things I wanted to mention to viewers is when we're shooting Empire State at Dead, we're shooting this building, had no heat, no electricity and stuff. And I had to come up with a lighting system. I don't know why it didn't dawn on me before, but come up with a lighting system that didn't need electricity. Originally, I was going to buy like a generator and plug the lights into it and stuff like that. But I found these great battery lights, and I'll post a link to them, you know, in the comments and on the page here and stuff like that on Amazon. That worked great, and I was getting they were only about $27-$28 each, and they're basically like the lights, you know, the LED lights you'd attach to your camera and stuff, but they had the screw mounts on them so I could mount them to the light stands and sandbag them, and they really filled in the room nicely. I mean, if you had them cranked up, they would only last like an hour or two, but the batteries for them were only like $8 each, and they happened to be the same Sony batteries that I had for my old HDV camera, which I still have, and I still have the batteries, so I was able to use those batteries. Batteries $8 each, you know, or I mean, the batteries for the camera I rented were like $50 each, and if you bought the official ones, like $150. But these batteries like $8 each, so I was able to buy a ton of them, light my set all day in with safe lights, because you're always worried about hot lights falling on somebody or trying to get them into a corner and not catching fire and stuff like that. So these would be great. I'm going to use them like crazy on other sets, even with electricity. So definitely check these lights out. I highly recommend them. They're very bright. They'll fill in over a distance. And if you find yourself in that situation,
always. I hate lighting. That's one thing about the whole process that I hate. So I mean, this sounds like a great shortcut that's safe too. So.
Yeah, and they match the sunlight pretty well, because I was mainly relying on sunlight inside the building, so I could use them to fill in and not worry about it being like a color correction, color grading nightmare. So knock on wood, because I haven't cut all the stuff yet, but from what I can see through the camera, it looked pretty good. So that's my recommendation.
Put a link up there for sure, because I'll definitely check that out myself, because like I said, I don't hate lighting per se, but I hate it because when you do everything yourself, as we do, I mean, it's just another thing that you're trying to focus on with catering and shooting and exposures and, you know, all the things we're trying to do, sound and all. When you're kind of like a one-man band, it's just so difficult, as you know. So any kind of shortcut like that's great.
What's cool about these lights is not only can you mount them to light stand, but I also had these brackets that would mount to the light stand where I could attach two of them. So if you wanted extra lighting, you could have two of them up. It's really inexpensive. They're basically $35. You know, you'd get one light. So, you know, if you spend $200, you know, you'd be getting 5 lights out of that. And I even had like a click light, like a workshop light that I found too. That was an LED light, and I was like, I could actually use this to put behind an actor. I didn't need it for the shoot, but I was letting my nephew use it because he was shooting a short for his college submission. So, you know, you could use the main lights, you know, for your key and fill, and you could put this little light, which had even a magnet on it. So if you had like a metal background, you needed to attach it to a wall or something, just as like, you know, a hair light or something to separate someone from the background. you're all set. You can shoot faster with it. Like I said, you don't have to worry about, catching a fire. You could put it like on a bed or something if you needed to. But yeah, these are pretty awesome. I think they were called NEEWER, but I was hesitant to even say that because I remember names poorly all the time. But like I said, I'll post a link and I'll post an image in the video, and people can find them on Amazon. And there's other ones that, are basically cut from the same cloth that you might find are better. But these I actually saw a video on. The guy had done some tests. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how well these lit. And he was lighting basically into another room. And when he was cranking it up, the room that was dark behind him, it was lighting the room up really well, in the staircase and stuff. And I was like, and I think it's right on the Amazon link, or the Amazon sale page for it. And I was like, yeah, these would work perfect, because I was shooting in a pretty big room, and I was worried how close these lights were going to have to get to the actors. And they worked great. So definitely recommend this particular brand. So, and you can dial on the side to adjust how powerful the lighting is, and a meter on back to show you how much battery life you have left. So they drop down pretty quick where you won't get that full brightness, but they hold for a while. Like I said, we were getting an hour or 2 hours out of them and they were really holding up pretty well. So
can you plug them in also if you need to?
No, they had an option to, if you didn't want to use the rechargeables, to use they had an adapter to use the AAA or the AA batteries. But I don't think they had an option to plug them in unless you found some sort of converter that would attach to the battery, attachments and run out to. Actually, if the old HDV camera, the actual plug into it was like shaped like the battery, and it was basically like the part that slid in there, and it had a cord that ran to electrical. I didn't think of that, but you probably could slide that in there, hooked up to the charger, and be able to run electrical on those if you can find a few of those cords for the. Mine was the old HDV. What was it? Shoot, I can't remember it. It was an HDV 1080i Sony camera. Well, you could find the cord for that one. I guess you could, I mean, I have some pretty good lights that run electrical now, so if I had electrical options, I would probably just use those. And these is like fills and corners and stuff like that, where it's tough to say squeeze because they're small, they're compact. So if you have a tight corner, and a lot of our sets are tight. I'm sure yours are too, because you're shooting like in small rooms.
Rooms like this.
You could have a light up on your, on your bookshelf there if you wanted to highlight something up there that you could just be able to put back there and not worry about having to have to put, run a cord and hide a cord or something there. You just pop that light back there and fill it in. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen. I think on Deadly Dares, I bought all the lights that we use on that off of Amazon, just halogen stuff like you're talking about, and they're probably 5 years outdated now, but I mean the lighting stuff and the shortcuts you can do with that kind of stuff is awesome. So
yeah, when I came across it, was so obvious too. I was like, why didn't I think of battery powered lights sooner? I've always been jamming
I saw,
electrical
I saw
lights.
an infomercial the other day. It was like probably a few months ago. I saw an infomercial on these really emergency lights, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, for Truth or Dare 5, I think I'm going to investigate exactly what you're talking about. So it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah. But okay, anything last minute to plug that you're working on, and we can wrap this up?
No, everything goes through you, SRS Cinema, man. You've got it all promoted, so
I'm not sure what we're gonna do VHS wise with you coming up. Maybe a Killing Spree, since we did only the director's cut of Killing Spree. Maybe we'll do a Killing Spree, the released cut VHS of it. But I know we've talked about some of your shorts. Getting them transferred and doing a Blu-ray, which I'd love to do. I'd love to see your very early stuff, Blu-ray, DVD, and VHS release of it. But meanwhile, people pick up the Day of the Reaper DVD. It transferred real nice. I mean, I played it on, and of course HI-8, yeah. But the Day of the Reaper DVD, I was playing on my HD TV through the Blu-ray, which upscaled it. And I mean, you can see it's not as sharp in some of the image and as it is as the Blu-ray and the credits and stuff like that. But boy, it looked really good. I was impressed how good the DVD looked as well. I mean, super sharp.
Probably, I think I mentioned on the commentary. I think it's the best I've seen it since actually projected on the wall, if not better. So.
Yeah, you watched the DVD for your commentary because I didn't have the Blu-ray ready yet. So
right, it's not even the full HD, so I can't wait to see that. So
the credits, which I had to redo, they're really sharp and crystal clear on HD TV and stuff. Yeah. But we still have the VHS, the DVD of that. Pick up HI-8, which was the big thing we were plugging tonight. VHS, DVD still out there. Hopefully they'll do a Blu-ray of that as well, and maybe some VOD deals. And look for the next campaign for Deadly Dares, and when that comes up, we'll be sure to plug it on the SRS Facebook page, and probably another article on the site and stuff. So All right, Tim. Appreciate you joining me tonight. I'm sure we'll have you on
Thank you very
again.
much.
Another
Happy holidays.
Same to you. Happy holidays. Peace out, everybody. If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a like below. Your likes are deeply appreciated. Also, check out past and future episodes of Indie Filmmaker, and don't forget to follow the Sub Rosa Network here on YouTube and at www.facebook.com/SubRosaNetwork. Peace out.